and clear.
Okie dokie.
Wait, I can't hear you.
No,
No, you got to talk closer into the microphone.
this is close.
A
Is
little
that
bit closer.
is that good?
Yes, can you hear yourself?
Uh, yeah. Well, not really.
So,
Yeah, yeah. I think I can hear myself.
so you got to talk a little bit
Is
into.
that I'm not. I don't. Okay. Now can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. So hi, mom.
Hello, my son.
How are you?
Fine, and you?
Doing fine. What a beautiful morning.
It is. It's nice. I like this weather. It's not too hot, not too cold.
It's fresh.
It's nice and fresh and a little breeze. That's all we need.
It's funny. I tell the kids because we see all the birds. I tell my mom's stomach got boogers.
Yeah.
That I see all the birds right now on the tree lines or in the field, and I always say, Grandma always said when the birds are doing that, it means it's gonna get cold.
Yeah, it's going to get cold. My mom used to say, "You see the birds?" And I said, "Look at all the birds on the line." So they're feeding so they can get stuck up for the bad weather that's coming. And sure enough, in a day or two, if no less than a week, there was bad weather, either wind, cold, or rain or something.
Yeah, so that stuck with me. Now I tell the kids, look it's gonna get cold. Like, how do you know them? Grandma used to say the
Yeah.
birds.
Always see the birds. We look at the birds, and they can tell you the animals know before we do.
Yeah.
They have a built-in radar system that tells them, "Hey, stuck up because the weather's getting bad, or it's going to get bad."
No, they know they can even predict what is it, earthquakes, the tsunamis. They start running before.
Don't you always wonder where they go when all that stuff is happening? You don't really see the animals so much as like the humans. Well, we don't know till it happens, But the animals, they sense it, and they either go into hiding or they feed or they, I don't know. I always wonder, where do the animals go when the weather's changing and they know it?
Well, that's really like when the hurricanes, like in the cities. Where do the dogs? Where do the stray dogs or cats? Where do they go? They go somewhere.
Somewhere they find their hiding places, and they just, I guess, just sense it. I don't know. It's always something uh, curious to me that happens. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to go into archaeology and study the the history of the bones and the birds, and then I said, "Oh, veterinarian," and then they said 12 years of school. Oh, never mind. I barely made it 2 years into college, and then I said, "That's paying on my own." But back then they didn't have so much scholarships and stuff like for us.
But then you even said you would always get cold in school too, so
Yeah.
it would always.
Well, that one class, I hated that one class. I would get almost towards the end of the algebra class, and they have this lab that is freezing cold, freezing cold. I go in there in the middle of summer with a big old fur coat, gloves, and a scarf, and my nose is all red, and I'm trying to take a test, and I couldn't concentrate because I was so cold. I said, I never passed that darn algebra class. I took it 3 times. I never passed it. I passed everything else, but that algebra class, and I had to pass that before I went on to the next one, and I never got there. Well, the Lord knows what He's doing.
Well, when I went to school, I had to take remedial math. So in college, it was beginners for math for dummies.
Oh no, I got to the algebra class, but I just couldn't pass. I think it was like the 5th or 6th test that you had to go before you went to the next level. I don't know what the next level of math was, but I said to myself, why am I not passing it? I said, and I sit there and I had this coat on, a scarf and gloves, and I'm going, I can't concentrate, I'm too cold. And that it was, everybody was with the coats and everything, and they weren't passing. And I said, oh my God. And I said, I'm cold. And the younger kids, well, they didn't feel it as much as the old woman did. But I mean, oh my God, I said, that's terrible.
No, that's why I used to make fun of the kids because they would go to school in hoodies in the summertime or springtime. But they're like, Dad, it's cold in class. I was like,
I know. I notice the kids, they always come out in the middle of the summer and they still wearing their little jackets. And I go, why are they wearing their jackets? It's too hot. But I guess they're cool. I don't know. I see people in the streets, the homeless, they wear their coats, their sweaters, and they're pushing their baskets, and they can't. all their blankets and everything else in their little baskets that they got or carts, whatever they carry. And I said, aren't they hot? I said, I would be hot. But then I think, well, maybe they sweat and they get cool, or I don't know. I don't know about the logic about it. But anyway, for me, I get a little cold. My toes and my fingers get cold. Forget it. And my nose will run. Forget it. I said, I can't get warm. I have to get something warm on.
No, yeah, that now I don't give the kids any more stuff
No.
for wearing a hoodie.
You go into some of the stores or businesses and it's cold. They have the air conditions going on in full blast. You know, the what do you call it? Refrigerated air is cold. But I can't do it too many. 75, maybe 78 in the winter. You know, fall season. But now it's starting to get cool. So
Well, at our house, we keep it at 69, 65 degrees cold.
yours is a refrigerator. That is a refrigerator. I have to have my coat and my shoes and my socks and everything on with your house. So forget it.
I know. First thing I did when we got to your house today, I told Matt, "I'm gonna turn on the air conditioner for you, so you'll be comfortable." So that'll be freezing right now when we go back inside.
Yeah. He'll sit there in the mornings, and the air conditioner's not on, but he has got a blanket on and his sandals. And I said, well, why don't you put some socks on? I don't know. I'm okay. I'm not cold. But he has a blanket on. So.
I'm not cold.
I'm not cold. Right. Logic. Anyway. But going back to the animals, I always wondered how they know, you know. They're stocking up and warming, but they never fail to seize you to remind you of what's coming, you know.
No, they're not dumb. I always tell people animals are smart. They communicate with each other. They talk. Well, all my farm animals right now, so you know all my issues I have at home.
Yeah.
They talk to each other.
Yeah. Apparently, I think you have a den somewhere, but it might be in all that corner of your shrubs back there with all those dead trees and stuff that whoever had the land before them, they might have dug a
good.
a den in there or a little cave somewhere.
Well, when we used to clean the yard, there would be a bunch of holes on the ground. So I thought they were snake holes or gopher, but now they might be fox.
It might be foxhouses, you know. Who knows? They know how to camouflage themselves. That's a word I want to know. Because I'm sure if you got close enough, they would pop up and run out or something.
No, they don't even. When they see us, they run away. So I'm okay with them. But
Yeah.
they don't. We don't see each other. We just hear each other.
What tickles me is that you have them on the roof of your house.
Yeah, and it's not a midget house. It's a it's a tall house.
And I'm saying, how are they getting on the roof? And what's on the roof for them to get up there?
Peace and quiet. They don't have to worry about the coyotes or mountain lions, cougars chasing them. They're at peace on the roof.
I guess. I don't know. Back in my days when we were on the farm, my dad had a 22, and we would sit there and if we saw little jackrabbits, or back then you saw a lot of quails, and we had an arroyo that ran in front of our house, and when we got bored, we'd sit there with a 22 and wait for a jackrabbit to go by, and boom, we'd shoot it. That was pretty good back then, but I don't know if I can still do that now at my age. But
It's like riding a bike. You never forget. Just a
yeah,
couple of practice.
I haven't touched a rifle since 1999. But anyway, when you sit there with a rifle, we had rattlesnakes, we had coyotes, we had jackrabbits, skunks, you name it, everything. When the rains would come, that arroyo would run like a little river in front of the house. And the next day or two, you see all kinds of little animals there. The quails, we would shoot them, and my dad would make like little, what do you call those little guinea hens that you buy in the store now? The little,
Like a little fake a fake bird.
yeah, this is like a little chickens. We would have to eat. When we were 10 in the house, 8 with my mom and 8 of us kids and my mom and dad. When we made 10.
So there was 8. I thought you guys. I was gonna ask you. I thought you guys were a family of 11 kids.
Well,
11 brothers and sisters.
We were 10. I'm a twin, but my twin died at birth.
That's right.
He was a male, and then I had another sister, an older sister. She died too, and we're eight still living, thank the Lord. But my oldest sister's 86.
That's my aunt Nellie.
Yeah, and then my sister Tony, and me. Well, me and then my sister Tony, and then Jack, and then Diane, and then John, and Gigi, and Kathy, and so we were eight all together. It was a full house, and we lived in the little 3-bedroom house with one bath. And how we all slept in there and lived in there. We had a little tiny living room and a little bathroom that was as big as well, you could turn around and sit in the commode and wash your face at the same time. So that's how small it was. But we managed, and we had a wood stove till we went to the gas stove. And then we had a pump house because we didn't have
Water? Or
water. We had to. My dad had to build a well, so he had a well, and he covered it up in the little shack. And when the lightning hit, oh man, you better not put your hands under that water in the sink because you go.
Get electrocuted?
Yeah, you get a little buzz. But we need to wait at least a few hours after an electrical storm because the lightning would hit and the water would get electrified for some reason. I don't know, something about the way the
well was built? Or?
the pump house was built and the electrical pump that it had. I don't know. I must have attracted electricity. But back then, everything was so simple. We lived in a desert where we were the only house up there in Varo by the freeway. Now it's a subdivision up there.
But Grandpa Jack owned all that land, no?
From the Jehovah Witness Church there in Vado to about midway down where the Arroyo ran was all my dad's property. And my mom and dad, they had a trash picking business. He would drive all the way to El Paso, pick up restaurants, their trash, and in their trash it would be paper, and all that. And then they would have the liquid trash, which was the garbage, like the excess of the people that food was thrown, and they put it in barrels, and then he would bring all of that home. He would burn the paper stuff, and the paper works were burned, and they had like a little dumping area. And then once we burned the papers, we would go out there and pick. Back then, you could sell the cans, aluminum cans. We'd pick up the cans, throw them in the road, and we would mash them with a truck. Then when we mashed them with the truck, we'd go back out there, pick up all the cans, put them in the truck, and he would go sell it at Border Steel.
Is that in Vinton or?
Yeah, it's in Vinton. It's still there, but they don't do that anymore. And then we would take out anything that was like the mayonnaise jars with a big mouth. Those could be sold for a nickel. Coke bottles were a penny, maybe two. So my dad sold a lot of stuff, but he had pigs, and the liquid garbage we would take and put it in a big cooker. It was like a barrel cut in half, but it was huge. I mean, it was huge. At least 6 foot wide and long, about maybe 8. And he would put all the liquid garbage in there, and we go in there and scrape it out. You could find forks, spoons, pans. The workers from the restaurants were too lazy to scrape or clean, and they would throw them in there. Excuse me. And we take those out, and we put them in hot water and lye soap. My mom would make this lye soap out of the fat of the pigs. Don't ask me how she did it, but it was a big bar of yellow soap, and we put lye soap in there and Clorox, boil it in hot water, and then we wash them with soap and water, regular soap and water. And a lot of those dishes, the dishes that we had was from literally the garbage.
You wash them and they're brand new.
And some of them are like silver. They were good silver spoons. We take the liquid and scrub it and clean them, and they shine again. And so I have some of those left over from my mom and dad's ranch on the farm. And Then we would anything else that we had with plates and dishes and all that, we would clean them, and then the food we would boil it in that big cooker, and we have to cook it because I guess it's the farm guy that inspects the foods for the farms. He would come and check if we cook the garbage, and then we would feed it to. We had to boil it and cook it, and then let it cool, and then we would feed it to the pigs. My dad had about 1,500 head of pigs,
Let me see if I can. I'm gonna pull while you talk. I'm gonna find something to put it on the screen. I think I have some pictures
and
of the pigs.
he would we would get the pigs and we would feed them. We put food into the troughs and certain times of the year, again going back to the nature and the animals, he would see the moon. Back then he had farmer's almanac, but he said, okay, I don't remember if it's a 3/4 moon or half a moon, whatever. The old farmers used to use the moon to castratorize pigs.
Castorize is what? Cutting off their balls?
Yeah, the male pigs, we would cut their, what we call the nuts off. And excuse the French, but they cut them off, and then he'll pull them out and then put some mixture of oil, salt, and something else in a coffee can. And after he castorized them, he put that oil into the wound so they wouldn't get infected. And then after he got them all cured, and he'd take them to the market in Albuquerque.
And he would sell them, or?
Yeah, they would sell them, and they had a price called on the hoof, which means they were still had all their body parts, their legs and everything, and they would sell the pigs in Albuquerque. We load them up into the truck, and take them. They were either between 400 and 500 pounds of pigs. Maybe 5 or 6 or 7 of them would go in the truck.
They were dead or they were alive?
No, we loaded them up alive. That's on the hoof. That's how we sold them, and it was like, well, back then it was like 50 cents, 40 cents a pound, and the 500 pounds was maybe, I'll say $100. I don't know, but my dad would take them all the way to Albuquerque, and my mom would go with him. Oh, it's a pain in the butt to load a pig or any animal for that matter into a truck, but a pig, you think, they would fight. You put them in a chute, they call it. It's a little ramp. And my dad would have the hardest time. We would pull their heads with the rope trying to get them on. And they would fight that chute like they knew they weren't coming back,
No, they're not the little cute pigs that people see on TikTok now.
Oh,
They're
no.
the huge, like
They're the
300, 200-pound pigs,
They're the
right?
heavy-duty pigs. Heavy-duty pigs.
The bacon pigs.
Bacon, yeah. And Daddy would take those to the market. And once in a while, we had a huge freezer, too. And that freezer always had food in it. We were, like I said, 8 at home kids, and then my mom and dad 10. But those huge pigs they're 300, 400, 500 pounds, and then to load them in, and he'd take them up there, and then he'd come back, and then we'd raise some more, and another year or so we'd go again, or 6 months, whatever, whenever the pigs were ready or fat enough to go. That's what we would take.
Now, you guys wouldn't eat those pigs, or you guys would eat the ones you didn't sell?
No, we would eat one. We had on the farm, we had cows. It was mainly pigs, but we had a cow. We had 2 cows. We had goats. We had a horse, 2 horses, a donkey, goats. And you better not bend down in front of a goat because they'll butt you. And
Like headbutt you?
yeah. Well, they butt you. They butt you. And we had a little bit of everything. We had a bunch of dogs. We had a German Shepherd dog, and he was Army trained. And boy, that dog would, you tell him to do something, he was right there. His name is Ranger.
Was Grandpa Jack in the Army?
He was in the Army, yeah. He served in World War II, but after he came out, he was a mechanic for, I can't remember, in El Paso, dealership in El Paso a long time ago. And then from there, he started his business. He bought a land in Vado, and they started putting a pig here, a pig there, and pretty soon it was built up, and And we could work busy all year long. The animals kept us busy. We either feeding them, castrating them, or bedding them down because some of the little mama pigs were ready to burst and have their babies. They have between 7 and 10 pigs. And so back then, when life was simple, and you worked your butt off to even eat, but we had that big freezer. We had a pig in there. We had a cow. We had chickens. I hated the chickens. I hated the chickens.
Would you eat the chickens that
Yeah.
you guys had?
Yeah, we get that chicken. My mom would buy baby chicks and little tiny ones, and they look so cute. And then as they started to grow, we had this chicken pen, and you separated the hens and the roosters. And my mom played a joke on me one day when I had to go feed them, and she said, "Go in there, Mary, and feed the chickens, and check for the eggs." So because they laid the hens would lay the eggs, so I get my basket to go get the eggs, and she thought it was funny. One day she locked me in there with all those new young chickens, and they were flying and jumping, and she locked the gate. I couldn't get out. Oh, Mom, open the door. She's sitting out there. I remember Lord have her. She was laughing away, and to this day, I hate to be in a chicken coop because of that.
So
Because they're jumping and flying all over, and the little baby chicken. Well, they were younger chickens. They weren't babies anymore, but they're jumping and flying at you, and their claws. And, get me out of here, Mom!
would they poke you with their beak or no?
No. If there was a vicious rooster, yeah, but when they were younger, they were just flying and throwing their claws up, and so it's when you had so many of them flying at you, you're just like,
Overwhelmed?
Yeah, it's like I got paranoid, and my mom locked the gate, and I couldn't get out, and she was just standing out there laughing because she thought it was the funniest thing. And I to this day, and I told my mom, but when it was time we needed a chicken, we go get one of those chickens, get their necks, and we would twist their necks and twist their arms until the head came off in our hand, and the chicken would fly on the ground and flop, flop, flop. And once it was done, I got my revenge.
So you would offer to go get the chicken.
She'd get the chicken that she wanted, and I would get out there, or we would use the axe, but usually we just spin the chicken with our hand till the head came off, and then we would clean it and cut out the insides. And
Were they easy to catch?
most of the time, yeah. Most of the time they were, because there's so many, we just pick one and get it.
So you weren't picky on which chicken, just whichever one
No,
you can get your hand on.
My mom would say, "I want that one." Okay, so we chase the sucker till we catch it, and we had chicken. We had fried chicken. My mom made the best fried chicken, and then we had mashed potatoes and gravy, but we never lacked for food. Well,
So on this one, I have a picture of Grandpa Jack and Grandma.
Yeah.
Is that on the farm, or where do you know anything of the
That's
backstory behind this
yeah,
picture?
that's at the house. I took that one a long time ago. Daddy was already sick. He was on a walker, and my dad he's my stepfather, but I always called him Dad because he raised me and my sister Tony. I think I was 4 and she was 2, so we were little, and but he gave us an education. He fed us and clothed us, but we worked on the farm. Mom and Dad would always have us busy doing something. And
Let me see. So I got
yeah.
this one here posted for you. Let's see. So what you guys would always tell me about Grandpa Jack is he had a nickname for everybody.
Yeah, he did.
So let's see.
Yeah.
Who's that?
That's Juanita. That's Kathy's daughter. No, wait a minute. Yeah, that's Juanita.
That?
And that's my Aunt Tony, your Aunt Tony. And
Grandma.
then Mama. And your Aunt Gigi. Me with short hair. I think I'm going to go back to short hair. And your Aunt Diane and Kathy.
So
We're missing your Aunt Nellie, but that's,
who's the baby? Aunt Kathy, right?
yeah, Aunt Kathy was a baby.
From here, you're the oldest sister, or Aunt Diane?
No, I'm the oldest there. Nellie's the oldest of we're 6 girls and 2 boys.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 girls. We were all girls. We learned a lot of stuff when growing up. They kept us busy. But nowadays, the kids are not as busy as they used to be when You tell them to throw the trash, and they go, ah, that's too much work. Oh,
The robot can take out the trash.
yeah, they don't take out the trash or what do you put it? What do you call those things?
The garbage disposal, no?
No, compactor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we did a lot. But now, well, that was then, and now it's different.
Yeah, so what was it like growing up in the everybody might know this, but for the YouTube world, you're technically you're my grandma, but you raised me, so you're my mama.
Yeah, you're my son.
So what was it like growing up with 8 siblings in the 60s? 70s?
Yeah, the 60s, the 70s. Sheesh. Well, let's see. Like I said, on the farm, we always had work to do. We either watered the pigs, the dogs, the cats, whatever it was going to be. We had our duties to pick up cans out of the road to sell or jars. And I remember when I was a kid and started dating, and where we lived was sort of isolated. I had to walk 5 miles from my mom's house down to Vado, where the railroad tracks was, to catch the bus.
So you can actually say, back in my day, I used to walk 5 miles in the snow.
Yeah, snow, wind, sleet, rain, whatever. Mosquitoes, darn horse flies that would bite my legs. And back then you couldn't wear pants; we had to wear a dress. So between the socks and your thighs, the bugs would bite me and mosquitoes. Once again, we had a dog named Ranger, and he was Army trained. And he would know what time I was coming off that bus. And he would meet me like halfway down Vado and go with me all the way back up to the house because I had to walk through bushes and a road. And a lot of times people would stop, you want to ride? And then we would say, no. My mom would always say, don't take rides from strangers. And if they try to get you, run. So we never took a ride unless I knew somebody. But I remember I had a friend, and he lives in the Cerro now. But he walked me halfway, and then one time a friend of mine wanted to give me a ride in his car, and I said, "Oh, no, thank you, but I have to." The dog, and he didn't see Ranger. He was out in the fields right there walking. But the minute he stopped the car, here comes Ranger, and he says, "Oh, I have the dog. Oh, it's okay. He can go." Ranger sat in the front seat with him, and I sat in the back. And he was like, "Oh, man, that dog is going to bite me, Mary." He says, "If you don't bother me, he won't bite you." And he was a big dog. He was a German Shepherd, very well trained. And he would walk for me up there and back. And in the winter, he would be there. But most of the time, I didn't have any trouble. I think one time I had a man stop, and I kept telling him no, and he wanted me to get on. And I said, nope. And I said, "If you don't stop bothering me, I'm going to sick the dog on you." I said, "Okay." My mom would yell like Tarzan. You remember Tarzan?
The king of the jungle?
King of the jungle. He goes, "Ah." Well, I yelled like that, and the man looked at me like, she's crazy. And here comes Ranger, and he starts, "Arr." That man got in his car, and he took off so fast, he didn't know what hit him.
He's like, "Where'd the dog come from?" She said.
But back then, you could trust people a lot more, than you do now. Now you don't dare even talk to a stranger sometimes because you say, "Oh my God,"
So it was just you that would walk, or how close were you?
I was the only one that walked. I walked my whole high school years because the bus wouldn't go up there towards the freeway back then because I was the only one. But then a couple of maybe 5 or 6 years down the road, another family moved, but they were even further back. You know where the rock quarry is back there in Vado?
Mm-hmm.
Further back way back there. They call it the Lord's Ranch now. And there was the Masters. They used to live back there, and they had some girls and a boy. I think one boy, I think they were. But there was like 2 or 3 girls and him. And they started, but I was already in my senior year,
So back then, it wasn't like how you have neighbors now. I can throw a football and there's a neighbor. How your closest neighbor was 2 miles away, if that, if not farther.
5 more. I think we didn't have very many neighbors. I think we had one lady live next door, and she was sort of loony, but she always thought my mom was after her husband, and she was always flirting with my dad. Well, my dad was big and strong. He was 6'2", maybe 3, and. But if my mom talked to her husband over the fence, oh man, that lady was crazy. But I don't know if I don't know whatever happened to. But that was the only neighbor. But they didn't live very close. But she always came over to kind of harass my mom, or she'd say that us girls were flirting with her husband. We were kids, you know. Who wants to know, you know? But anyway, but that we didn't have very many neighbors. We had one neighbor, and that was it. And everything else, we walked, and once in a while we have people from Mexico to come and buy the pigs. But no, you know, we didn't have very many neighbors. Not too many.
No. I guess I give you the credit for all the music you guys would show me growing up. So it was a lot of the oldies, the jazz, the Motown,
and Tommy Dorsey. I love Tommy Dorsey. I could dance all night. My friends we would go out with, and all of them would be drinking or something. But all the partners that we went with, we all danced all night. I would dance, and then by the time their wives got tired, we would dance. I would dance all night because I've never really been a drinker. And I think if I've had one drink, maybe that's one too many. But I love to dance. But now I can barely move. My legs are no good.
You can still move the top.
Yeah, I move my head pretty good and my shoulders, but not anymore. But like I said, life was simple back then.
So you and Dad would always tell me you'd be at the dance halls, or you would see a lot of concerts, or a lot of big people would come to like San Miguel, El Paso. What were some of the concerts you remember growing up, or people seeing growing up?
Sonny and the Sunliners. We went to see Little Joe and La Familia. We went to see Merle Haggard. We went to see, what's his name?
Was it Santana you guys saw too, or no? Have you guys seen Santana?
I don't remember if we saw Santana. I think we did. And then Fats Domino. We got to see Fats Domino.
Was that here in the area, or
in El Paso at the Fiesta de las Flores? Okay. We got to see him up front and close. Good piano player. My grandpa on my dad's side used to love him, and I remember he would do on the radio and say, "Hey, turn it up." And it was Fats Domino, and he played a mean piano, but we got to see Fats Domino. Yeah, we got to see quite a few.
Who was the DJ you and Dad would always talk about?
Krosno. Steve Krosno, yeah. He died. He had, I don't know if it was pancreatic cancer or cancer in the head. But they did a concert with Sonny and Little Joe and another group in El Paso to raise money for his cancer treatments.
Was he from El Paso?
Yeah, he was.
From El Paso? Okay.
Well, I think he came from Albuquerque, and he got famous here in El Paso. And that was the radio show you needed to hear all the time because he played the best music, and he had little inserts, and he was funny.
I remember you had some CDs or some tapes of Steve Krosno.
I do still have them. I still have it. I have CDs, I have 45s, I have LPDs, and I play them once in a while, but I have a few of them out. One time we moved, and they got warped, so I had to throw a lot of my albums away, but I have a few.
So how is it being able to see technology change, even from music, from the rotary phone or to the phone? Did you have the phone? You had the phone here and then this phone?
Yeah, we would get a call, and you see that commercial where you take the wire all across the hall, because if you wanted to talk in private, you had to go to another room, and we stretched the cord till it would go no more. And then back then you had what they call party line.
Mm-hmm. Like a three-way call, right? You could have 3 people, or
it was people would pick up the line and hear your conversation, and get off the line, You're trying to talk to your boyfriend or a friend in private, and you could hear, get off the line. Then they click it, and they come right back on. So, but that cord, they show the cord. I still have a rotary phone. As a matter of fact, Naraya asked me, "How do you use this phone, Grandma?"
There's no screen on it.
And she says, "There's no screen." I said, "And what's the number?" I said, "It's just like you push the buttons on your phone." I said, "We have to dial each number," and she dialed about 6 numbers, and she says, "My finger's tired." said, "Oh my God!"
Like, I don't need to call him no more. I'm okay.
I still have a rotary phone. I have a Princess phone, but I we have the cordless phone now. But technology's advanced so much that you go from the digital and back to the old rotary, and the kids don't know what rotary is because they couldn't do it, you know. But it's funny because now I'm the one that's backwards. I said, "How do you do this?" I always call to my tech guy. Hey, can you help me do this? I don't know how to do this on the online, and can you help me with this phone? I don't know what this means, and so yeah, technology is very, very advanced. And the only thing about technology is now that you have so many darn hackers.
Mm-hmm.
They hack you. They go into your accounts, and I know nowadays all the young generation goes to online to do their banking or to pay their bills, and I still make money orders and send them in the mail.
And checks. I'm like, Mom, why are you still paying? Why are you still going to the stores to pay your bill? You can do it online.
No, no. and then I said no. They don't. They need to get my check, and then the only way they can get my check is if the store messes it up. But no, I still do that, yeah, because using this credit card stuff and scammers and everything, nah, it's too much danger. They take your identity, you know, and they get into your accounts, and then you wind up saying, "Where the heck did all this money go?" Or who spent all this money?
Well, what is he, your great grandson, Mateo?
Yeah.
He just got hacked this weekend. They
Oh.
used his card in Israel.
Oh
For
my
three
God.
different purchases. He's like, Dad, I didn't buy anything from Israel. I was like, son, are you funding the war? What side are you funding, son?
Yeah, they know how to get in there. I don't know how they do it, but they get in there. You think with all the technology, they would have those things blocked, but they managed to get to your account somehow. And I remember your dad when he was working out at El Paso at Fort Bliss. He bought one burrito that cost $3,
On a card?
and he used the card. He never used this as a card, but he used the card $3, and then he winded up in China or Japan at a massage parlor spending $5,000. And I said, "What the hell are you doing in China or Japan spending $5,000 on a massage parlor?" He said, "I didn't do it." He says, "Well, that's what the credit card statement says." So we had to get that fixed, and he never used the credit card anymore. So I said, "No." I said, "Use cash instead of putting $3 on a credit card. You're winding up $5,000 in Japan or China, wherever they was, in a massage place." I said, "Are you doing something I don't know?"
I was all, it's not that long of a flight to China.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, they hack your accounts nowadays. And now they're going to the AI.
Yep. So it even sounds like your voice. It sounds like you.
Yeah.
The videos, the deep fake videos they can do now. Where
Yeah.
it looks like you.
I said, "Well, they wouldn't want my face. I'm too ugly, but oh well." I'll get distorted anyway. But no, that's technology is good, but at the same time it's bad because all the poor people that are thinking they're safe, they wind up in a hole or they gets hacked or something because the hackers are just out there all the time.
Yeah, the thieves are lazier and lazier now. They don't have
Yeah.
to do the in-person contact.
No, I get a big kick out of that because I know even Naraya and Mateo, they're quick to do stuff and then go, "How did you do that?" Their fingers move so fast. I'm going, "Let me see first."
Like,
Slow
show me.
down. Slow down. Yeah. But technology is too fast and too dangerous now because of the hackers.
Yeah, you don't know what's real, what's fake anymore. Even
Mm.
with the news and stuff, you don't know what's real or what's fake anymore.
No.
What was I gonna say? So something that you don't see too often anymore. A couple years ago, well, this year obviously too. You and Dad celebrated what? 50 years together? 25, 30?
50 long years.
50 long years.
And now we're already on 55 years. Tomorrow we'll have officially by church, we have 55 years.
Oh, tomorrow? I was gonna say it's in September sometime. No,
Yes,
that's,
what's tomorrow?
tomorrow is September 25th.
No.
No, it was the 19th.
No,
Was it-
today is
today?
the 24th is the Well, see, we got married in July by Seville because he was going into the army, and the military paperwork required that he have his wife put on his military paperwork. So we went and got married. My mom and dad were our witnesses by the court, so he could fill allotment papers, what they call. And so then that was in July, and then in September we got married. We had a big Mexican wedding, of course, with 199 people, and
Well, with his brothers alone, it's 19 brothers and sisters, and you're 8.
yeah, yeah, and September 24th, I believe, is our official wedding date.
So how many years are you guys celebrating today or tomorrow?
24th will be 55 years.
So that's something we don't see that much anymore
Oh,
in
no.
society. So what would be one of your secrets to success or your message for your future great grandkids on how to make it last?
You have to have lots of patience. Lots of patience, and then try to communicate without killing each other, and being honest with each other. A lot of times, sometimes your dad doesn't like when I tell him something, and then it turns out you were right. I said, well, I was trying to give you my opinion, but he, according to him, the man knows better, but it's not true. But anyway, communication, patience, try to understand and forgive. You got to forgive each other because sometimes we all blow it, including myself. And Daddy says, "You think?" No, it's not that I made a mistake. Yeah, I did it. But you got to have that kind of patience. Love each other and forgive each other and start over every day.
Yeah, it's funny because Tina, I think it was at work. She was telling me she was talking to one of her customers or guests or whatever, and they're like, "You guys have been together 16 years." She was like, "Yeah." So you don't see that too often. I was like, "Oh, we had a lot of great examples. You guys, her grandparents, her mom and dad.
Yeah.
It's something where
Yeah.
you guys laid down the foundation."
Yeah, and in our faith, for me, everything is based with the Lord's blessing. I always pray for each and every one of you in the morning. Excuse me. And at night, and I trust the Lord for all those things every day, because tomorrow's not promised. Even the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen, and I just trust the Lord to take care of us each day because you don't know what's going to happen. And if something bad happens, you just say, "Oh, Lord, be with us and give us the strength to get through another day." And that our faith has been one of the strongest points of our marriage.
Because since I was born, I always remember being in the church with you guys or going here, going there.
Yeah, we did. We served the Lord a long time, and I still, even though we don't get there too much often, but that's our faith. We know one of you are going to travel, we pray for you guys. We even pray, how we pray for you on the trips, and even if it's just vacation, but still,
So where did you start that, or did Grandma Juanita start that? Where did that come from?
I think when I was a kid, my dad, his mom, we went to a Black Baptist church in Vado, and we go there. There was two little churches. One was Hope, and one was I can't remember the name of that one, Grace or something. But there was two little churches there in Vado, and we would go. And then sometimes we would go to the Catholic church. My mom wanted us to make our first communion and be baptized and confirmation. And the Catholic church, I like it because we would go, and it was more like a social time for me because we got to see our friends. They were Catholics and everything. And the Baptist church, it was more the spiritual. I love the music and the worship there, and that I felt more drawn there, that area. And then as we grew up earlier, we started going more to a Christian-based church, and then I know during a time in our marriage, we went through a time that we were almost divorced, and I prayed so hard that the Lord would change some things in our lives, and which He did. And that's what got me through was but the faith I had and going to church and worshiping and praying. And then I said, I'm just going to pray for my children that they learn to go and trust the Lord in all things, no matter if it's good, if it's bad, you know.
No, yeah, for sure. And that, so something you say the difference with the Catholic Church and then a Baptist church, because I remember when Dad was preaching, we would have, what was it, race relations Sundays. So we go to the different Baptist churches, and you can tell the energy shifting.
Yeah, the culture change. Yeah, I love it because, well, in the Black Baptist Church, they're very musical, and I love the worship. You know, in the music and the praise, and even though they go a little longer than the regular people, the other churches that were not black, but the Mexican and the Anglo churches, they had their music, but it wasn't rhythmatic, but the worship is what I liked, and I still, you know, I sometimes want to go, but I haven't had a chance to do that go back to church and stuff. But we're planning to start going and visiting church, and but that's the main thing about marriage, you know, it's how you work your relationship and how you communicate your faith in the Lord and trusting Him for yourself, for your children, for your family. You know, someone gets sick, we pray for them. If someone is suffering or mourning, we pray for them. But all those things, especially our faith, that's what has gotten me through all those 55 years. Because there's time your dad would give me a heart attack, and I'd be so worried about him. But I said, no, Lord, he's in your hands, and that's as far as I can go. I mean, humanity can do so much. You know, the doctors, the medicines, one's own self. You know, if you don't, what good is it going to a doctor if you're not going to follow the instructions? Or if you see they're wrong, you need to speak up, you know?
And speak up and say, hey, doc, this is...
Hey, this ain't working, you know? My doctor, I've had him for 30, 40 years, and sometimes he used to say, you haven't come to see me. I said, well, I haven't been sick. I don't need to come and see you. I don't need to give you my money. He said, well, you haven't. And I said, yeah, I know. Well, now I need you. I'm sick. Tell me what's wrong. And I'll tell him what's going on. And he says, well, I think you're so. No, I think it's so-and-so. And then he'll say, how do you know? I said, well, you're not the doctor. I said, yeah, but that's why I came to make sure that what I'm feeling is what's wrong. And usually I'm right. Like if I know I have an earache or I have an ear infection. And he'll say, no, it's not. And then he'll look, oh, your ears are all red. I said, I told you.
Yeah, doc, I'm just here for my medicine. Just give me this prescription. Here's what's wrong with me.
And he says, oh, you're always trying to. I'm not arguing. I'm just telling you what's going on. And I know my body. I said, I just need you to confirm and give me what I need to get better. And he says, you've always been argumentative. I'm going to be argumentative. I said, I know my body. I said, I know what I feel and what I need. And you're the one that has to give me what I need, you know?
Yeah, I can't give my own prescription.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird, though, that we have to have a doctor give us a prescription? Like, why can't we just say, hey, here's what I'm feeling. Give me this. Like, go to Walgreens.
It was
why do we have to have a middleman?
the government and money and pharmaceuticals. And, you know, if you, I know when I was diagnosed with asthma, I was almost 50. And I left at my mom, Lord have her. I went to the doctor because I had this cough that had lasted me almost a month, and the doctor gave me antibiotics for 2 weeks, and he was I said, no, this is the third week you've given me antibiotics. I can't take so much antibiotics. Something's going on, and I can't stop this coughing. I'm coughing and coughing and coughing. And he says, well, I'm going to send you to an allergist. He sent me to an allergist, and he did the 20 things here, 20 dots here, and they all popped up, and he says, hey, lady, you're allergic to everything. I said, yeah. He says, well, I'm going to have to give you an inhaler because you've got asthma. So I run into, after that, I went and checked on my mom, and I told her, she said, what did the doctor tell you? Oh, he says, I've got asthma. I have to use an inhaler. He says, what's an inhaler? I said, that thing you put in your mouth and you give medicine so you can open up your lungs and stuff. Oh, she says, your dad used to have, my biological father was asthmatic, and I never met him. I never knew him, and I don't even know if I have more relatives under him, but my dad was Jack McCrimmon, and he's always been my dad. But she told me, "Oh yeah, your dad." And I said, "I never seen my dad." I said, "No, your real dad." That's when I knew I had a biological father because old folks back then didn't tell you a lot of stuff. You know, they never told you. They never told the girls about their cycle. They never told the girls about any secrets or anything that was the kids were supposed to be seen and not heard. If adult came into the room, get out. This is not adult business. And you don't need to be here. Get outside. You know, or they wouldn't tell you certain things. And I'm going, oh, why, you know? But nowadays, you know, parents are more open and tell kids a lot of stuff. And sometimes they tell them too much. But, you know.
I didn't know you were my grandma until I was 11.
Well, that wasn't my doing. But you know, stuff the older folks back then wouldn't tell you. You know, they wouldn't tell the men wouldn't tell the boys this, you do this, or they would, or you know, now everything's open and wide exposure, you know, and everything. But I don't know. I just, like I said, my mom, oh yeah, you were real nonchalant. She said, your dad used that all the time. And I go, oh. I mean, and I found out I had a biological father and what his name was. And then I realized that I didn't even know what he looked like. I had some old pictures, but I never met the man. The Lord have him if he's still alive. But, you know, Mom, to this day, I think in 92 when she died, and there were certain things I didn't know. And then after she died, oh, I didn't know that, you know. Oh, I didn't know that. Here I am, already 60, 70 years old when my mom died. But I said, oh, my God. But that's the way the culture was in the generation, you know.
Yes. So you grew up multicultural.
Oh, yeah.
So how was that growing up, the multicultures?
It was in my age group around the 60s and stuff, there was a lot of prejudice. And it still is, you know, only you don't see it as much. Well, you see some of it now. But back then, you know, I was insulted because I was Mexican. I was insulted because I was raised by a black man. I was insulted because, you know, I could fit in either one. But, you know, when I was around a certain culture, they treated me okay. But there's certain people, and to this day, they don't accept the culture change. They don't accept the race change. They don't accept anything. I guess the thinking of the ideology of supreme being or race, what do you want to call it, is, I think it's stupid, really stupid, because there's only one creator, and he created us all.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for his creation was to get along and to love one another and to take care of one another and appreciate one another. And, you know, I felt very discriminated. I had a teacher, because back then I had my hair really long, and it was long. And I would usually just wear it loose, down straight. And she would tell me, oh, Mary, you need to comb your hair differently. You got that spider hair. Well, I had straight, long hair. I said, look at you. And she would throw my hair, and she would insult me, and I go,
spider hair.
yeah, and she was a redhead and really, you know, really racist, and she really showed it but she didn't like me for some reason. And then I guess when she met Mom and Dad, she even, it got worse, you know. But that back then that it was shown, you know, the way that people treated you. I had a boy and a girl in a bus that they would call me Black Mexican trash, and they would throw rocks at me when I was walking down the road if they were, because the boy had a car, and he would throw rocks at me, and it was ugly, you know. And then I would say my mom and dad would go to a restaurant in El Paso, and we would stop to eat. And what hurt really, and I never forget this, we sit in a restaurant, you know, they come and put you a glass of water or plate, whatever. They would put my mom and me one, but not my dad. Oh, they would never, and they would take forever to try to get our orders ready. And one time we went to a restaurant and did that, and it took forever. And finally, they came over and they told my mom that they would serve us, but not my dad. And then that was, oh, my mom said, we don't need your food. And we walked out of the restaurant, you know. But that was common stuff that they did back then. They wouldn't serve the black people. And if you were Mexican, sometimes they wouldn't serve you, you know. So it was a rough time. And you saw all of that prejudice, all of that hate during that time. The riots, I saw Martin Luther King and his march and him being killed and John F. Kennedy and all. I was thinking the other day, how many presidents have I lived through? You know?
Yeah, because there's only so many, and most of them are still alive, right? I think Reagan is still alive.
No,
or he passed away
he
recently.
passed. I think
Carter's still alive. Carter's still alive?
Carter's the only one that's still alive, and he's pretty sick. He lost his wife.
He's really old. He's older than Reagan, or
Yeah.
would have been, right?
I don't know. To tell you the truth, I really don't know.
So it's Carter, original
really-
Bush,
George Bush Jr.
senior.
And then there was Ford. There was, I remember as far back as Eisenhower.
Was he in a wheelchair? Was that the one in a wheelchair?
No,
or-
that was I think that was Roosevelt.
Oh, okay.
But I remember Eisenhower. I remember Johnson, Kennedy, Ford's.
Reagan. No, what was
Nixon.
Nixon. Yeah, I was gonna say the one that got impeached.
And Reagan. So and then I was now Obama and all that. You know, there's some breakthrough, but people in the world are still carrying hatred, and I don't know why they carry so much hate because we're all human. We're all different. We're all, you know, our color doesn't matter to me. You know, I accept people for what they are, the way they are. And if they want to talk to me, fine. If not, fine. But
Like I always wonder about that with like say in the animal world in birds. Like if there's a red belly bird, does it not talk to a brown belly bird or a robin, a blue feather bird? They all get along. They all
Yeah.
talk to each other.
they communicate somehow. Animals communicate better than humans,
Yeah.
you know, and that's sad, you know, that the humanity doesn't accept what God created them for, is to love and live with one another the way they are. And, you know, it may be different and you may not accept it, but you don't have to kill or hate or insult or, you know, if you don't, I usually just ignore it, you know. Your dad's a little different, but he has to say something, and I don't really pay attention to people, and I try not to be judgmental because the Lord says, if you judge, you're gonna be judged, you know, and He's gonna judge us all one day, and what we do here, He's gonna make us accountable one day, but I just think, you know, so some of the best people I've met are in different cultures, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't believe in India, and you believe in China, and maybe you don't believe in Japan, maybe you don't live in Africa, or whatever. But you know, we were all placed on this earth for a reason. And that reason only God knows, but we shouldn't be changing what God did. But humanity tends to do that.
Yeah. 100%. Well, let's lighten it up a little bit, Mom, as we start to wrap up. So I know you watch our shows. So we're going to do our little segment we have here. It's called How New Mexican Are You? So we ask you a couple of questions of this or that, and then you pick and choose. And if you have a story to say about it, then you can say a story.
Okay.
So let's see. Are you ready?
Okay.
You need a drink of water or anything? You're okay?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So how New Mexican are you? Red or green?
Green.
Enchiladas or what's your green for?
Green in everything. Salsa, meat and potatoes. Red in once in a while, but I rather have green.
What would you use red for?
Red enchiladas, menudo, maybe carne and papas.
Can you make green chili menudo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You just don't put you put green chili instead of red.
All right, let's see. Blake's or Whataburger?
I like Whataburger.
Okay. Si, Senor or Los Compas?
Si, senor. I know them since when they first opened the restaurant. The father was running that restaurant, and now I think one of his sons is
Serge?
running.
He's
Yeah.
running. He has one here.
In Demi.
His sister runs Phoenix. I think they have one too.
Yeah, I don't know. And one in Demi.
And one in
don't-
Deming, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're opening one right now where we had the fireworks stand.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're opening one right there. I don't know if it's open already, but it was almost done.
Yeah.
being built.
When they first opened Si Senor, a long time ago, the father was running it. And Sergio was with him. But now I think Sergio is running it. The father retired, I think, or he's still running something. I don't know.
He's
I haven't seen him in a long time.
El Mero Mero now.
Yeah. He's a jefe now.
All right, now let's see. La Llorona or Chupacabras?
Oh God. Those were things that I didn't never know what they were until somebody told me, and I go, oh, okay.
Or no, what was when you grew up in El Cucuy? What was the scary story you had growing up?
Growing up,
Because we had La Llorona or El Cucuy.
no, my mom and dad was enough to scare me.
They
You didn't mind. We got spanked.
Yeah,
They weren't afraid to spank your butt, but that was the scariest thing for me.
All right,
but,
this one's another New Mexico one. Johnny Tapia or Austin Trout?
Johnny Tapia.
Okay. Cinnamon or plain sopapillas?
Well, I like cinnamon, but now that I'm diabetic, I have to go plain.
Allsups. Do you know what Allsups is?
What?
Allsups. They sell the chimichangas like in Alamogordo, Albuquerque.
Oh, Allsup.
Allsups or Santa Fe Grill burritos?
I don't know neither one of them.
Ooh. I'll have to take you to Santa Fe Grill then. Andales or La Posta?
La Posta's good.
Let's see. Then the last one. Aggies or Lobos?
Aggies, of course. As my old alma mater, even though I didn't graduate, but I went 2 years there, so
2 years, then you got frozen cold.
I got frozen cold in the algebra class.
I was gonna say, so I something I gotta tell you and Dad that I'm mad at you guys about. 2 things.
Ooh.
One, you guys never taught me Spanish.
Yes, we did, but you didn't learn it.
No.
Even today, I try to tell Mateo and Nora, ¿Qué? What did you say? Yeah. And they're going, huh? I have to tell them in English.
Yeah, it cost me a lot of money by not knowing Spanish.
Well, you were growing up in a predominant Spanish-speaking neighborhood. You should have learned it through the kids. And I would talk to you in Spanish. I would tell you, "Vente, mijo, come on." So you know some Spanish. But you know more than your kids do because your kids haven't learned Spanish. And the one that's picking it up a little bit more is Naraya because she goes, "What?"
Well, she takes her little Duolingo classes and tries to learn on there.
Uh-huh.
And then Mateo's taking Spanish now. I think Jossie took Spanish in school. Or she took
But she
Spanish.
doesn't speak Spanish either.
Who? Joss?
Uh-huh.
No, none of the kiddos speak Spanish.
That's just it. They don't practice what they're learning. You know, when we were kids in school, I remember taking a class called shorthand because it was a business school, business classes like bookkeeping, shorthand, secretarial stuff. And I remember taking shorthand, and they would tell you, write this and this. And then they show you the symbols for different things. The only thing I remember in shorthand, and because I never practiced it, was a dot that meant and.
A dot.
But if you don't practice something daily or try to practice it every day, we're not going to learn it. You know how I learned Spanish? When I grew up in El Paso, and we used to live in apartments by the Coliseum.
You lived in El Paso?
Uh-huh. Living in apartments in El Paso. By the Coliseum, there was some apartments, and then I would walk a canal that was go past
Wait, who'd you
Washington
live
Park.
there with? Dad? Grandma?
Grandma and Dad.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they moved to Vado in the 60s, in 1960. But before then, I was going to school in El Paso. No, I take it back. Yeah, we lived in El Paso, and then we moved from El Paso to Borderland. That's a little town right after Canotillo.
Mm-hmm.
And then from Canotillo, I went to Gaston. I started Gaston in the junior high in 8th grade. And well, in El Paso, they didn't let you speak Spanish.
In El Paso? Wow. I would have thought they would have.
No, and back then they didn't. You didn't speak Spanish in the classroom. So, of course, I was raised in English. Mom and Dad, we always spoke English. But when we came to Borderland, I started hearing people speak Spanish. I didn't know what it was. But then we came to Gaston, and in junior high, I was 8th grade. I started there, and all they spoke was Spanish, and except for the teachers. You didn't speak Spanish in class unless you were in Spanish class. And I remember some girls were insulting me, telling me all kinds of nasty things in Spanish, and I had no idea what they were telling me. So then one day, some girls were telling me something ugly, and I knew by their
tone?
their expressions and their tones, and they were telling me something, and I came home and I said to my mom, something, these little girls were telling me this, and I couldn't remember exactly, but it was a cuss word in Spanish and some other stuff, and I said it, and my mom slapped me, and I go, well, what did I say?
I'm asking you, Mom.
Well, it's just well, that's what they told me. Oh, she said, man, she says, you're going to have to learn to speak Spanish. That's when I started speaking Spanish in 8th grade, but I was picking it up from hearing the other kids. And then when I started, when I had Spanish class, I knew a little bit more. But when I went home and told my mother, it was not a very nice thing. But I repeated what they told me, but I got slapped for it, and I'm going,
I don't want
"What?"
to speak Spanish no
Yeah,
more.
I don't think I want to talk that language anymore. But I had to learn it because all the kids spoke it, and they talk to you, ese, or they say, vente pa acá, and I'm going, what?
Like, well,
You
what's
know,
that mean?
So I finally learned Spanish, and even though my Spanish is sort of broken, and I still, but you have to practice it. You have to. I try to tell Mariah and Mateo, hey, come here, ven acá. And they look at me like, come here. Okay. But I said, practice Spanish. And Mariah would ask me, how do you say grandma? Abuelita. Oh. How do you say grandpa? Abuelito. Oh. How do you say kid? Niño. And then, but she would start learning and she would remember it, but she wouldn't speak it.
It's hard. So, do you ever think in Spanish in your head?
Sometimes.
Or do you think in English?
I think more in English.
What about when you're speaking Spanish? How are you thinking? Are you thinking the words in Spanish, or are you thinking English, speaking Spanish?
It depends on the conversation. If I'm listening to someone that's dominant in Spanish, I'm paying attention to what they're saying, and then I'll think in Spanish.
Okay.
But if they're talking in English, I talk in English. I think in English.
Well, it's funny. So I'm not fluent at all in Spanish, but I think fluently in my head. Like the voice inside my head speaks perfect Spanish.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking in Spanish.
And it's just a matter of practicing. I know you at your work, you probably run into a lot of Spanish-speaking people.
Yeah, and it's very different. I know Spanish for all my jobs, but I don't know fluent Spanish.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, if you learn it, at least you have an idea what's going on around you or what they're saying, I got a kick out of your Aunt Diane because she called me from California the other day because somebody called her chula. And she says, Mary, I need a Spanish lesson. And I go, why? She said, because I went to the store today and some lady called me chula, and I don't know if she was insulting me or what, but I want to know what chula is. She says, vente pa acá, chula, she said. And I said, I know vente means come, but I didn't know what chula meant. And I said, well, it's like pretty, bonita, unless she's cussing you out in Spanish or something. I said, but I think she meant you were pretty or cute, And she says, well, I couldn't. I said, well, you came from New Mexico. You should remember this Spanish. But I've lived in California all my life, and I don't remember a lot of Spanish. And then she called me the other day. She wanted to know, what was the word she wanted to know? I can't remember what it was. There's a beer commercial she saw in Spanish. And then the guy says, La vida más fina.
So, Corona.
It's a Corona. And she said, I couldn't remember. She says, I know she was saying something, but I couldn't remember. I thought Fina meant the end. And I said, well, or welcome. And I said, yeah. And I said, well, what are you trying to say? She says, let me find the commercial. So she found it on YouTube, and it was La Vida Más Fina. She says, the life's so fine, a fine
Like
life.
the finest life. Like
The finest life. And, and she was saying it was a commercial of the beer. And I said, so go and have your finest life and drink a beer with the Corona, I told her. She says, I don't like beer. Me either, I told her. But she couldn't remember what Fina or goodbye or welcome was. And I said, hi, Diana.
Like, come on.
Come on. But yeah, it's a matter of practicing and trying to remember. She says, I remember some, but we don't use in California. It's mainly English,
There's a lot of Mexicans in California.
Yeah, but I guess where she lives, there ain't. But she goes to a store, and some people will say something, and she'll call me, Mary, I need a Spanish lesson. I go, oh my God. But yeah, it's a matter of practice and where you are.
Well, the other bone I had to pick with not just you, but with Dad. I don't know if I remember telling Dad when he was here. Not telling us we were swimming in a horse feeder. I was trying to find the picture here, but I'll post it up later on. But it wasn't until we moved out, and then when we go down Mesquite, then there's the Mercantile. And so, look, honey, they're selling swimming pools because they had all the horse feeders, different sizes out there. And so those aren't swimming pools. Those are water things for horses and pigs and stuff. I was like, no, that's what we swam in.
Yeah. Well, you got to swim in the, well, it was a watering trough, is what we would call it. It's called, but we bought that, and we bought it for you guys. It was like 3 feet deep and about 6 feet wide or 8. And we brought it home, and we rigged it up where we could put water and hold the water, and you guys swam in. And well, I think even Noraya and Mateo got to swim in that one a little bit, but it finally gave out. I mean, come on, a watering trough can only last so long. It's like 30, 40 years. The metal seam started to rip and come up, and it would cut,
Yeah, we would cut our feet on there.
Uh-huh.
Dad would put his little tarp, or not tarp, but I remember black sheets of tar.
Yeah.
He would put on there so our feet wouldn't scrape.
Yeah, but it went. So finally we got rid of it. But that's what we swam in because we didn't have a swimming pool and we couldn't afford it. And that was, I think we spent, that was years ago, maybe $100 on the trough, but it was a nice swimming pool. So every summer they swam in that, and we swam in that for the longest time. And, but it was just a horse trough, yeah. But it was a nice swimming pool. You didn't have to. And then in the, when we didn't use it, we take the faucet, open it up, let the water run on the lawn, and we turn it upside down. And in the next summer, we fill it up again and put it in the heat. And it was nice and warm. And you guys had a good time when you were little in it. And
I had a blast.
And
I had no idea.
Shayna, you, and
TJ,
Tony,
Vanessa,
and TJ, and
Tony,
Tony, and Corey. Yeah, all you guys swim in it. I don't know if Jojo got to swim in that or not, but I mean, it can only last so long, But it was a way to have a swimming pool cheap.
I knew nothing else, but that was a swimming pool until I became an adult.
When we were kids, you know what our swimming pool was? We had those big barrels. I don't know how many gallons they are, but my dad would cut the tops off, and we would burn them and clean them out if they were oily or whatever they had in, and we would burn it out and wash them, and then we would get in. We would fill those barrels, and of course, but we were still little, maybe, they were 3 feet tall.
And they were huge when you were little.
Yeah, we would fill the barrels full of water, and we'd jump up and down, and that was our swimming pool, but we would only have to up and down.
It was like a dipping tank, a dunking tank is what it would be.
You would go sit in there, but you couldn't lay down or anything. We just jump up and down. That was our swimming pool, so we had a great time with it.
Oh. Well, we got a little guy bringing you a little something here.
Oh, beautiful. How pretty. I love my roses. You should see all my roses in the front.
You got the green thumb.
Put it in a vase inside. There's a water. It's right there by the sink. Thank you, mijo. I appreciate it. They're beautiful. I love roses. Thank you, mijo.
Well, thank you, Mom.
But that was our swimming pool. That was our fun. The other thing we used to do as kids, well, we were 8. I had 8 cousins in El Paso, and when they would come over from El Paso, we would call it El Chuco. I think it's still called El Chico. They say, oh, they would make fun at us because we were from El Rancho. And they would come from El Paso, which is El Chuco. Oh, you kids at El Chuco don't know how to do anything. And they didn't know how to do a lot of stuff. They would work on the farm once in a while with my mom and dad and us. But we would get a baseball team going. So my aunt had 8 kids, and we were 8.
My Cordelia?
No, and Vera.
I'm Vera. There you go.
Yeah,
There.
the Tapias and us. We would get all in a team. We have our teams, and we would play baseball. We put big rocks for our bases, and we would play baseball when we had our little teams. And that was another thing. And another thing we enjoyed doing when my aunt and uncle would come over with the kids. My dad had a truck. I think it was a 3.5-ton truck. But if we would go on a picnic, we would go to the Silver City, to the City of Rocks.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful day.
And we'd go in the truck. Well, back then we didn't have refrigerators or coolers. So we'd pack our baskets with bologna and sandwiches and fruits and stuff. And we'd put it in a big box and we'd carry it. And my dad would buy, back then you could buy what are called blocks of ice, solid big squares. And he would put it in there and put it in I don't know if it was a barrel or something. He would put anything that was cold, we would put it in there and put a block of ice on top of it. So we get it, all of us, their 8 and our 8, we would get back of the truck and then we'd sit on the bottom and we'd go to the City of Rocks. And if we hit a bump, boom, we'd jump up. And if you turned, we all went to one side. And if you turned the other way, we all went. So we rocked and rolled in the back of the truck all the way to the City of Rocks to jump and run on those big rocks that had there. And then we would go out and have a picnic and everything, and we'd play until we got tired. And then we'd drive back and we'd bounce around back, coming back. But we had our sodas in bottles. They didn't have cans then, and we had to carry bottles. So we had to put towels in.
The glass bottles.
We had to put towels in between the bottles when we put the ice on top, But that was our basic
The fun.
fun,
Road trip.
And if you said you were bored, you better not say you were bored. My mom would get out. Okay, get out the needlepoint. We would do needlepoint, or we'd be ironing clothes. My dad had a 6'2", 3, had these overalls, and I remember ironing those pants. Their legs were about this long, and I said, "Oh, I'm never gonna finish ironing these things." I had to iron them, and we had to starch them back then. Only the cleaners do that now, but unless you do it yourself. But we had what they call liquids. We make our own liquid cornstarch and put it in there and soak them, and then we put on the cloth, and then we would iron the clothes. You iron sheets, pillowcases, my daddy's long overalls, and shirts, and then we would iron. And oh man, you didn't say you were bored because they always gave you something to do. And I'm being the oldest, I always had to cook. I hated cooking. I like to cook still, but I hated cooking because I always had to cook for an army. I make a stack of tortilla about a mile high, and biscuits and sugar cookies we used to use. And
Oh, so how did you learn Grandpa Jack's barbecue sauce? Did he show you how to make it, or just by watching him make it?
He showed me how to do it, and we would have a grill, a real big grill. It was about 6 foot long, but he built it, and it was close to the arroyo, and it was made of bricks on the bottom, and then he put this. This was a metal sheet on the bottom for the coals to be under there. Then he had this metal wire for the rack. And like I said, we always had meat. That's one thing, we always had meat. We had pigs, chicken, beef. So we would go. I worked at a butcher shop when I was a teen. And it's still there, but not anymore. It's a butcher shop. But he would take the meat to get it butchered, and they package it in paper and wax, and we put steaks on there. We make some big old thick steaks, none of this paper thin things. Some steaks, some chicken, some uh, pork chops, and then we make the sauce with the big pan, and we put it in there. And I've given it to Tony a couple of times, but he lost it. And I said, well, you better. I'm trying to pass down the tradition, so when you guys barbecue, you can put it on the barbecue.
Well, I got it saved online now on my Google, so I don't lose the recipe.
Yeah, but we make a big pan of it, and then he would slop it on the meat. He had it's not a brush, it was a
Like a
little,
mop.
Yeah, it was a little stick with a piece of clean rag on it, and a rubber band, and he put that sauce on the barbecue, and we had
Delicious sauce.
Yeah, we would have that and eat chicken and pork chops and steaks and Mama would make baked potatoes. Potato salad, and sometimes we would have a macaroni salad. But boy, we got full on that chicken and steaks and pork chops, whatever it was barbecuing, and we cooked that stuff and then Dad would bring a big old huge watermelon and put it in ice, and that was our dessert. We didn't have cake. We had a watermelon, and he grew a lot of watermelons in the yard, and cantaloupes and squash, and what else did we grow? Some corn. He had his little garden. Tomato, we had a lot of tomato.
I think you're making me hungry now. All this steak talk.
We used to make our own butter.
Butter.
And buttermilk and cheese. My mom made this cheese, and to this day, I didn't learn how to make the cheese than me, but there was a little seed from one of the weeds that would grow in the area there, and it was a little round seed, but she would put it into the milk, and she would make this cheese, like quesadilla cheese.
Uh-huh.
Oh, good cheese. And then the butter, you take, when we would milk the cow, we take the milk, we let it set, we take the cream off of it and put it in those big pickle jars, those big mouth pickle jars.
Uh-huh.
And we take the cream, just the cream, scoop it up and put it in the jar. And then we would sit there in a chair and roll the jar back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, your arms got tired, and you switch it around. And pretty soon you see the butter. And then when the butter was already in there, we take the butter out and put it in a bowl, put a little salt, then put a little cold water, and it would set the butter. So we had
Homemade butter.
Homemade butter. Have you ever had the Amish butter
No.
from Albertsons?
They sell it?
It's a big bar. It's about $10 or $12, but it's expensive. It's a bar about maybe 2-3 inches thick and about 4-5-6 inches long. It's, I think, about $12. But
It's expensive butter.
It's good, but it reminds me of home when I was a kid. But I said, people don't know how to make butter anymore, and they don't hardly use buttermilk anymore. We used to use buttermilk for the biscuits and.
Oh, Tina still does. Tina still uses buttermilk for whatever she bakes, cooks. When she makes her homemade fried chicken. Ooh.
Oh yeah, we put you can dip it in that, and then we always had eggs. So, and then sometimes I would make what we call tea cookies. That's what my mom would make. Well, we were 8. I had to make big batches of cookies, and we put the tea cookies. I mean, those suckers were gone. My dad used to love them with milk. He had
Milk and cookies.
milk and cookies. We put the after we skimmed the milk, we would put the milk in the refrigerator. And we always had a gallon of milk or 2 in there, and butter. And then from the pigs, we would always have meat. You know, from the pork. We would get the pigs, and my dad would shoot it right between the eyes. And then once he opened it up, we put it in that big trough where we would cook, put boiling water.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this like a pulley.
That would lift up the pig?
Yeah. He lifted up the pig, and he'll tie the ankles, and he lift up the pig. And then when the water is hot, he move it over, and we put the pig in there. And when I still have these big, sharp knives. What point? Have you ever seen that knife?
Like a big brown handle?
Mm-hmm. We get that knife, and once the pig goes in the water, we'd take it out and scrape the hair off the pig, like you pulling the feathers off the chicken.
Yeah.
Now we would do that with the pig and scrape it off. He cut the hoofs, and we soak them in the hot
Manure?
water. Yeah, the hoofs are like ham hocks for you that you put in beans. Like you can put in beans now.
Okay.
Now they're a delicacy. The tongue of the cow is a delicacy today. Back then, it was the cheapest stuff, you know. But the cow meat, remember eating cow tongue, mijo?
No.
You don't remember?
No. Isn't that barbacoa?
Yeah.
What's barbacoa? Yeah, I know it is barbacoa. I don't know.
But one time you were still young, I think you were about Mateo's age. I had a tongue in the freezer, and you said, "Mom, what is that thing in the freezer?" And I told you it's a cow tongue. Oh, you're gonna cook that? I said, "Yeah." Oh, when you make it, I'm not gonna eat. So one day I made it, and you weren't home, and I made it, and I stripped it, and I chopped it all up, and made it with onion and stuff, and shredded it and everything. And I made you, I don't know if it was taquitos or sandwiches or something out of it. And he said, "Mom, that's the best steak I've ever had." And he said, "What kind of meat is it?" "Oh, it's beef, I told you." And he says, "Oh, it's so good." And then he went to the freezer, and a couple of days later, he says, "Mom, where's that big old thing you said was a cow tongue?" I said, "Remember those tacos you ate the other day that you said it was the best meat ever?" I said, "That's what it was."
Oh, see?
You don't remember that,
No,
do you?
I remember seeing a cow. I don't remember that, but it was good.
You ate it. He was just, "Oh, that's the best meat I've ever had." And now you buy a tongue, and it's a delicacy. If you buy kidneys, we used to use kidneys. People don't eat the kidneys hardly anymore, but it's good. We use the tongue, the hoofs, even the chickens. You know, have you ever seen the chicken legs in the stores?
Yeah.
We used to
Like
take
the claws, the little.
We used to take those and dip them and shred the meat skin off of them, and take the nails off, and then we would dip it in hot oil and deep fry them.
Would they be crunchy?
And you eat them like chicharrones. You take all the skin off. It's the little bones, tiny, but it was the best meat. And then what else did we eat? A lot of stuff that the animals we used to use on the farm, they don't do it down more because people go, yeah, menudo, chitlins. You hardly don't find chitlins anymore. It stinks to high heaven when you cook them, but all
Tastes
those
delicious.
yeah, but good. What you eat now is tripitas. Yeah.
Corey likes those. I don't like those.
But I like them crunchy. And but a lot of stuff, you know, nowadays people don't know what they are, or if they know, it's a delicacy. You used to be able to buy them for $1, $2. Now, if you buy a tongue, it's like $20, $25.
Then menos if you buy it at a restaurant, it's like a $50
Yeah,
plate.
a steak. You know, inflation is everywhere. Your groceries are big. What I used to buy $100 would last me months. Now it's about 3 or 4 bags in $100, and I go, "What did I buy?" You know, but there was a lot of stuff that on the ranch that we knew, the butter, the milk, we used to have all of that, and we didn't have to go to the store for it. You know, but we put stuff in the freezer.
Yeah.
Bread, I used to tell my cousins, we're eating out of the garbage because my dad used to pick up a bakery, and back then they had a expiration date, which Christina told me about. But I don't remember. We never looked at expiration dates back then, you know. But the stores, Daddy used to pick up a bakery, like a fruit market, restaurants. But in the fruit market, they would certain dates they would throw all the fruits and vegetables that were past the expiration dates, like strawberries.
That's like the store expiration date.
Strawberries, you know, pineapples, apples. We go through all that and clean them out and see what was good, and we'll get them. And the bakery, they would throw the bread out after a certain day, and then we would take out good loaves of bread. Like, it was good bread. I don't remember what the bakery was. I want to say Rainbow, but we go through the bread and pick out the good loaves and put them in the freezer. They had sweet bread, cinnamon rolls. They had those honey buns.
Yeah. Yeah, honey bun, yeah. Like little donuts.
And then those little cookies. The kids like they're Debbie's now. I don't know. I don't know what they were.
Twinkies?
Huh?
Twinkies?
Ándale. We ate Twinkies. Well, I used to tell my friends, I said, we eat good out of the dump because they didn't realize that we had to sort everything out. The restaurants had to throw them out. The bakeries had to throw them out because of the expiration date. And the fruits and vegetables, we go through those. We could get squashes, we could get pineapples, cantaloupes, whatever they threw out. After a certain expiration date, they threw them out, and that's a lot of waste of food. But a lot of it was good.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And as you can tell, I'm still skinny from all that food. But it was a good time there. But I just tell them, my cousins and some of my friends, I say, oh, we eat good out of the dump, the trash, because my dad would pick them up, all those things. But we had to go through a lot of it,
Yeah, you would still sort it and see what was good, what was
and
bad.
then what wasn't good or not, we would feed to the pigs. So there was, like I said, the farm life was a different life than it is now. People now take a lot of things for granted. The foods you eat, you take for granted. I don't think the kids would eat hamburgers if they knew how they make it.
Oh, well, we're not eating expired food no more. Let's go get some real breakfast now.
Yeah, they said. To me, expiration dates, well, if they still taste good, it still tastes good. Why throw a whole gallon of milk out and I'm going, To me, that's a waste of food. If I was hungry, I know I wouldn't waste it,
I'd eat it.
Eat it.
Well, let's start wrapping it up, Mom, so we can go get some food or something.
Yeah.
I know Dad's probably out there.
He's probably going, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. He's hungry every 2 minutes.
Like he's worse than a teenager.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well,
But
thank you, Mom, for coming on.
okay, mijo. Thank you for
all
having us.
the support.
I love you with all my heart. One thing I love is all my babies, all my kids. I don't know, we're not all together in the one spot, but if we need each other, we're there, and that's what I love is my family, and that's the basic thing that I love.
Well, I love you, Mom.
Love you too.
Let's go eat.
Let's go eat. Where's the beef?
Where's the beef?
How do you do it?